So today has been a really difficult day. It is because I've been having these kind of attacks that are similar to what people say is the Havana syndrome. But it goes beyond that because it only happens when I do my studies related with national security. If I'm doing any other kind of studies or mental effort, like playing video games, it doesn't happen. So I wanted to talk about the essay, well, the plan essay I was doing today. So it's a very interesting one. It talks about, well, I'm not gonna open it, but this is the situation. Since United States is the center of the economy, it can boost itself by simply producing an artificial economy and then putting sanctions to everyone. So what it represents is kind of the changing new world. Like probably 5 years ago, or even before 10 years ago, you could see that some blocks were rearranging, like China, Russia, North Korea just place themselves in a position that creating BRICS will kind of signal a new Cold War, something like that. But the situation today is very complicated. It's as well very weird. So we are in 2025, and I know that most of the people is experiencing really strange things because most of the things that happen to them are related with the new technological means that AI has allowed to happen. And most of the people doesn't understand how AI works. And AI also has been working for a long time because it was developed probably in the 60s or 50s. Like, let's say this book talks about neural networks and the human use of human beings. It talks about how you can use humans by technological means that will eventually finish steering everything, even the body of every single person, every single communication that exists, every single flow of information, including every single spark or every single kind of electricity that will go through your body, every single movement in your nerve. So I was checking the date. Okay, it was written in 1950. You can see it here. So what is happening today is that the Western world is failing because we have primed the value of progress over the value of humanity, the value of the market over the value of family, the value of freedom over the value of security. Studying national security, and I know that it's not easy, to define that. At the same time, it could be as easy as every single country should make its policy as the policy that they would like to have for the neighbor. That's it. Every single country should wish their own policy as the policy that they wish the neighbor to have. Easy. It can be as complicated or as easy as that. Then, yeah, we have the situation that most of the people doesn't understand the technology. Most of the people doesn't understand neuroscience. Most of the people doesn't understand the chemistry and the new production of particles using AI. Most of the people doesn't understand the problems that AI could solve. Most of the people doesn't understand anything about genetics and the new technologies like the CRISPR-9, and people doesn't understand how mitochondria proteins will work. And we have a lot of technologies that simply will crash the market. We have, simply it's just logical. You make a society too productive, then no one will spend. And if you make everyone in the society have good habits of savings, no one spends. So one of my theories is that if people still submerge in the shadows, then people will consume by their illnesses, developing illnesses, because this is my experience. This is technically what has been happening to me. I'm not able to work. I was deemed as a schizophrenic. It feels that this is precisely something that is purposely done. So there are certain things that I'm allowed to do, but there are certain things that I'm not allowed to do. Headaches is not part of schizophrenia. Let's say feeling things could be part of schizophrenia, but experiencing pain and feeling your nerves is not part of schizophrenia, and that's what I'm feeling. So in the future, it will be possible to cure chronic pain, and at the same time, it is possible to create chronic pain, so people will spend money. And it means that it will pump the economy because there is a lot of demand, and then other people can produce. But the situation is that most of the economy is becoming steeper, and is becoming something that is managed by corporations. Yeah, the government is losing power. Politicians are doing what they must do, lead. They have to hear several parties, including the corporations. Let's say right now I'm having that headache that is simply it's just going there, and as soon as I say that, it just disappears. But don't assume that it simply appears for some reason, and because I'm just explaining the pain, then it disappears because someone is afraid. No, they just want to signal that in the future, they want everyone to be afraid of it. Like, let's say we are going to Mars, and that's a way in which a lot of the Western economy can work just to send people to another planet. In that way, capitalism can continue. But if we don't go to another planet, then capitalism won't be able to continue, because once we have autonomous robots or automatons or robots with AI that could do human stuff, then we will become hyper productive, and we won't need the GDP to grow always. The GDP grows especially for the United States. China has taken another kind of approach to the economy, but I don't know exactly how the Chinese economy works, especially just in the last couple of years. I've been questioning if I know anything about China. But being in Australia, I understand, having studied economics here, I understand that the GDP of the United States and the dollar is the most powerful currency, and they can print as much as they want, and as long as they consume, then there is no inflation. And one way in which that can be consumed is going to Mars. So, yeah, the economy has also a hierarchy. This is not a secret, but many economists doesn't like to talk about that because they might finish neurotarget as myself. But that's the point. You should not be afraid, because in the future, if this is the situation, okay, 2025, no politician talks about the danger of losing no, not even democracy. Democracy might continue in some ways, but we're gonna lose every single value from which the West stands. Yeah, every single value, including free thinking. Nowadays, people doesn't understand that there are technologies that can enter in your brain, and they don't know it. They simply can't conceive it. They have not experienced it. And if they might experience it, they might experience it as God talking to them. Some people experience it, like myself, as a mental illness. Some people might experience it as spirit. Some people might experience it as maybe people that is dead talking to them. So simply you have a technology that could stimulate and recreate anything that could be perceived or created by your brain. Any stimulus could be faked. Yeah, it means that your whole neural system can be hacked. And that's the point of the human use of human beings. Robert Weiner wrote this book, and the first version of this book, last chapter, was taken out in the second edition, because he talks about the morality of what could happen if what he saw will continue. So he also expressed that, let's say, religions in itself cannot stop this, because their values doesn't clash the development of this technology. Not the foreign policy, not the security policy. They will try to create randomness artificially. That's what it says that is possible. Well, it says, like any other component who is determined on victory and will use any trick of craftiness or dissimulation to obtain this victory. In particular, he will keep his policy of confusion secret, and if he show any signs of beginning to discover his policy, he will change it in order to keep us in the dark. Trying to show it here. that's the situation that has been happening to me. When I start to hear the voice, well, I start to feel, I start to feel that something changed. What I thought was related with probably a toxic relationship that I had. But then the changes, even when I was relaxed, etc., the changes just kept going. And I started to experience anxiety. I started to experience that I couldn't laugh. And several things. Well, how that can be done? If you stimulate certain parts of the brain and you damage them, then you could create certain illnesses. Like perhaps you can make a scan of someone who has a great illness, and if there is only a specific part of the brain, a specific globe of the brain, or a specific, let's say, kind of suborgan or location in the brain, then it might produce certain symptoms. Yeah, let's say the closer we go to the middle to the brain, the most that part of the brain controls anything related with or our prime kind of feelings, like the drive for sex, fear, anger, etc. The further we go to our upper, let's say, frontal lobe and lateral lobes, and the most we go outside, and the closer we are to, let's say, consciousness and thinking. We can have these other features that allow humans to be humans. So sometimes a way to find a genetic disorder is to see someone with something that looks prominent and different from most of the people, and then take his ADN and see how compare with the others changes. Because if some change is significant, that doesn't happen in most of the population, it is easy to identify. So the same thing happens if someone damages a part of your brain. They know specifically which part of the brain makes you sleep, which part of the brain doesn't make you sleep, which part of the brain will not allow you to laugh, which part of the brain will cause certain specific things like shorten your memory, long-term memory, etc. And in this situation, anyone can be affected. And it is weird that a lot of people is experiencing chronic illnesses, and our medicine at this stage is supposed to be quite advanced. But it's so advanced that we have to know that the economy at this stage right now primes over the life of people. Why is this? Because we might have the ways in which we could save lives, or let's say live forever, or I don't know, not forever, but live for a considerable longer period as never before in history. And we are not using that technology because then, yes, certain other economics might not progress, might not fall, might not grow. Let's say, as I was explaining, okay, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. It will make sense for the people. I hope no one makes a movie of myself if they do a movie and I'm already dead, or if they change the policy when I'm already dead, because everyone who is involved in this know me already. Yeah, they know that this can be stopped at any time, and if this is stopped post-mortem, or post-mortem is released any kind of propaganda, it means that systematically this is gonna continue in another ways. the experiments that, let's say, are done by the developers of this technology as an institution, maybe the military, or let's say DARPA. DARPA just have a perfect description of what's happening to me in their site. All the projects match with what is happening to me. It means that in the future they're just gonna continue doing this, but it's gonna be super easy because they're gonna control the minds of the people. They won't need consent. They will have a lot of data. Let's say right now people doesn't believe that you could train AI models out of the data of one person coming from the brain. They don't understand that the brain itself is an asset from which you could train AI, and this is happening to me. And who's how can I prove it? Only I can see that many of my thoughts, my rationalizations, my ideas, they are used in certain places. And I'm someone who always go around thinking what can be better since I've been pretty young. I thought that I could start to make a business when I was when I was 18. I thought that I could get pensioner at 25 just doing something great. But yeah, it probably was target maybe the first year I entered to Australia. I don't know why. I've been always thinking about that. When I entered to Australia, I met uh, someone who was from my family, but I don't have a direct. I mean, it's like the family of my family. Oh, let's say second or third degree parent. No, not parent, but I mean, yeah, parental uh, relation or something. But it was not close to me. And this person had a partner who asked me to send $3,000 to another person in their family or something. And yeah, I was happy to send that. That was actually going to his mom. And I was very naive because he told me, I already sent the maximum cap that I can send, that is $10,000. And if you're, yeah, use your name to send another $3,000, I'll give you $100. I make the favor without charging anything because it was inconceivable for me to get $100 for just doing nothing, putting my name, my signature, and showing my ID. So it was inconceivable. I mean, like, why would I do that? Why would I take $100 from someone who is working maybe, I don't know, 2-3 hours of work, and I think I simply don't deserve that money. Okay, this person invited me to have a few beers because felt compelled to give me something, I guess. And then just there I discovered that because their conversations that was having on the phone, I discovered that this person had to do something related with the drug trafficking business. Nothing, let's say, completely serious, but I guess I hope so. But definitely he was into that. I mean, he was not someone who will have, millions of dollars. No, probably more like someone who will sell small amounts of something on the street. And I always thought, well, I know, always not, but just recently I thought that might be the case because That might be a reason to believe that I was targeted. But I don't know if people can get targeted for that and get schizophrenia and start to be tortured every single day. And that's why I say that it has become just incremental. Yeah, because this is what Robert Weiner says. Again, like any other opponent who is determined on victory and will use any trick of craftiness or dissimulation to obtain this victory, in particular, he will keep his policy confusion secret. And if we show any signs of beginning to discover his policy, he will change it in order to keep us in the dark. This is what is happening to me. At the beginning, I start to have mild symptoms. My ex-girlfriend, she's a great person. I feel that, she causes no harm to anyone. And she started to experiencing headaches. It was weird, and it was just after I applied for the refugee visa. Also, I started to receive calls every day. Several times per day. And I will just say hello, and no one will ever reply. And it will happen several times a day. So, but okay. Someone, I don't know. I didn't know what to think. I think it's someone is related with any kind of, let's say someone like, I don't know, James Bond will receive calls every fucking day. He will be like, okay, fuck, inspired, something's happening. It didn't happen to me, yeah. Or let's say someone who has debts, or someone who has problems with the mafia, or someone who has any kind of shit going on, they will be afraid, yeah? I was not afraid, it's just fucking weird. But more weird things start to happen afterwards. 2 years later, yeah, you start to feel sometimes electrocutions, like pain. I start to have, during that time I was also having convulsions. Okay, I had episodes in my life in which I just stay sleeping and sleeping for a long time, and maybe it's difficult to wake up, but not anything like that, like waking up from convulsions, yeah. And let's say if this happened here in Australia, and maybe in other countries have the technology, maybe someone who enters to Australia knowing of that technology will recognize it straight. Not me, because I didn't know this shit exists. I didn't know that people was like being used, as it says here. Myself, I'm talking by myself. I'm being used in this way. I can relate with many things that are happening here. Yeah. And knowing that and seeing every single thing how it develops, I can tell that slowly they have changed the tricks. And there was a time, 2015, 2017, it was a time that I started to have certain kind of symptoms in which I wouldn't be able to talk much. I wouldn't be able to understand what was going on around me. I was feeling confusion sometimes. Yeah. I don't know, it was very strange, because it would not happen always if I was having beers or I was having a smoke. It just happened gradually. and I couldn't kind of recover ever, but then I descend into madness, not being able to sleep. But strangely, if I left Australia, I could sleep. If I went to Croatia, I will sleep incredible. If I went to Slovenia, I will sleep incredible. Yeah, and I came back to Australia, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep. And it tells to me that I went to Singapore, but actually I went to Singapore as well, and I went to Slovenia, and I just heard these voices twice in Slovenia, once in Singapore. And it makes me think maybe this happened through satellites. And let's say also the sound was very faint, very faint. But when I was in Croatia, I will try to see if I had any voice. I was in an island. I would try to see if I had any voices. I would try to see if no, totally changed completely. Yeah. My paranoia also was kind of healing at that time, because the paranoia started in 2016, 2017, but it was already healing. Yeah, because I start to be kind of, okay, something doesn't make sense, like push further to try to make sense of reality. And in 2018, it just was full-blown induced psychosis. I have experienced things that also doesn't relate with the schizophrenia. Like, you should watch this movie. Doesn't matter which year you are. You should watch the movie Left the World Behind. It was co-directed by Barack and Michelle Obama. Yeah. Barack Obama was ex-president of the United States. Michelle Obama is his wife. Also a very competent person. I have her book somewhere here. But, okay. Haven't read it though. Just pick it up from the street. But very interesting though. This movie depicts a scene in which there is a kind of sun and people just cover their ears, but the sound is still going on. This is what has happened to me. But the sound is extremely loud, so you feel your nerves of the auditive system getting burned, getting damaged. Yeah. Let's say this technology also can cause inflammations in specific parts of your body. It can cause an inflammation and break your tissue and damage your skin, your face. It can create like a micro, let's say, hemorrhage, micro hemorrhage. My ex-girlfriend had also, at the same time, just before I started to experience the psychosis, she experienced an aneurysm. Also, I remember that I started to experience a huge psychosis, and I stayed in the hospital, and I say to the doctors, okay, I have to leave at some stage because I'm fine. Yeah. So the next, I told them I cannot stay but until this date in the hospital, and the date I left the hospital, I went to Slovenia, and technically all the symptoms were gone. I could sleep, I was not insane. I still having something at that time that would kind of perdure there, but my brain was healing whilst I was abroad. And today was one of those days in which they bump my brain as fact. Right now, for some reason, I'm speaking way better than the last video and the video before. But I've been experiencing for the last 3 days a huge decline in my speaking. So sometimes there are days that I'm able to speak more or speak less. And that's very interesting as well. Because technically it's every single part of your brain. Nowadays they don't need people to train models. Nowadays they don't need people to know how their brain works. They need certain people to extract their data, technically stealing their data from their brains, so they can create new AI models and then sell them. I'm being consulted about this? No, but I will know. I will recognize a model of myself when I see it. Yeah? And it will make sense in the future. Let's say this is done with US technology. You will not saying that it is, because I cannot prove it. Still, DARPA shows every single of the projects that can explain what is happening to me. Because one of my goals is not to diffuse any information that I cannot confirm by myself, or otherwise that is kind of an assumption. But I notice as well swings on what the voices say depending on the elections in the United States. So every single time, especially I was target during the Trump government. And technically I stayed as a schizophrenic with not many symptoms during all the Biden's government. And as soon as Donald Trump won the election, I started to have dramatic changes. Also, the day that was a lot of changes. Also, the day that where the pagers explode in Lebanon, I had a huge psychosis. But it was induced. That day was when I realized, fuck, I just remember that the same thing happened in 2018, because this huge psychosis happened in January, and also I had not experienced that since 2018. It's 2025. So we talk about 7 years later. And then it was obvious for me that, fuck, this is AI. This is just trying to guide me somewhere. I, Daniel Roa, I do have my own personality. I do have my own ideas. I'm driven by my own beliefs and myself. Have a model of reality. Yeah, I recognize when I'm trying to be influenced. I recognize when someone is applying violence. I recognize if it's worth to reply back with violence, which I think I have never hidden anyone be violent to someone. So let me think about that. Have I been violent to someone? Maybe before I would have hurt not many people, but maybe I would be stupid and maybe hurt feelings of someone. Have I purposely been violent towards someone? Never. And there is no one who could prove that. And when I was in this toxic relationship, my ex-girlfriend would hit me so I would try to calm her down. I will not get angry because I was trying to understand her mental condition. Just at the end, she wouldn't want to break up with me. and I just tried to fake being angry, and she laughed at me, and I was like, okay, yeah, I cannot do, okay, I cannot even fake it, yeah. I think that's the only situation in which I try to appear to be violent. It doesn't mean that you should not recognize evil, because what is happening to me is pure evil. And if we don't overcome this as a society, as humanity, we're gonna be doomed. And that's the situation. We're gonna be doomed because we cannot change politics. Politics will be changed but by higher powers than the people. And I mean, it will be probably people who has power to exert violence, or people who has power because of the economy, etc. Even worse, if this technology starts to be used in every single country, we will have another situation. If people is not mindful, is kept in the dark, I mean, the matrix needs to update, yeah? The social fabric of society needs to be upgraded. Part of those relationships that can happen in that new matrix can be allowed by this technology. But if this technology or the fabric of society doesn't upgrade and every single country and society is using it, we're gonna have political instability because politicians will know, especially in the higher spheres. And one way in which they can avoid political instability is to drive the rhetoric towards any kind of drastic measures. And that includes curfews. Yeah. There are many drastic measures that can be taken just to drive the rhetoric of a place or the of a place or the world to another place. Just after 2018, I went to the hospital, and interestingly, I was always watching international news. I consider myself a social scientist and a philosopher. I'm not able to read many things. I try to start to do the let's say the script for doing a proper channel in which it will be animation and so on, but it seems that I'm not allowed. So it seems that I'm allowed just to appear to people in the ways in which I'm not suffering. And I live in a place that I consider is very privileged. Yeah, I had my own bathroom, my bed, kitchen, had my books, library, I have a great computer, and look at my screen, it's just crazy big. I just bought this microphone because I wanted to start to have a better kind of quality, because I wanted to really monetize, make money. I have tried to read a lot of books, and it seems that the only way in which I'm allowed to do something is to talk in this kind of podcast. Sometimes it happens that I say something that they might not want to hear, and check right now I start to have the pain. Yeah, sometimes I talk about things that they don't want to hear, and my screen just frozen, or after, let's say, processing the video, it simply doesn't. Let's say the sound doesn't work, and let's say right now I'm not sure if I will stop the video, and then you will be able to hear me and see me properly. So feels that because I'm constrained, certain doors are closed, certain possibilities. Yeah, as a human, I should have infinite possibilities to be. but it's not the case. They want to redirect me using cybernetics, because that's the point. That's the use of cybernetics, what is happening to me. And using cybernetics through AI, they want to redirect me in what they think is convenient, which might not be convenient for me eventually. Which nothing of what has happened has been convenient for me. And I think I'm one of those persons who could have contributed historically to Australian society. I think my passion and also my approach to social sciences is one that not many people has. My, let's say, mixture of knowledge is one that I never seen in another person. It's not saying that I'm super smart, cannot compete with someone who is a football player. Yeah. It's another kind of intelligence, yeah, etc. Now, the voices were always trying me to do something stupid in psychosis, and it's always to create a scandal or create misinformation, or maybe it feels that they were trying to make some news out of me. Never happened eventually. And it feels also that they continue pushing. It feels that they continue pushing. It feels that I record this because it might be helpful in the future. It feels that that sentence is already there. I don't know. But why? What I did wrong? That's the situation. What was my sin? Why no one has taken me to court? Why no one has made this? I mean, you can hear the voices that they will try to trigger you and make you believe, like, let's say, you're a criminal, and maybe you think that it's someone saying it on the street, and then you feel maybe afraid because you don't want to appear to be a criminal. You might want to clarify with that person what the person is perceiving or what the person says. But eventually these triggers happen because it feels that they want to keep you in a kind of smoke screen where you cannot see what is the reality. Yeah. I noticed several things. It's not just me, but it's many people around me as well. Or people that I start to meet, etc. And they have also done certain things against my family. My family doesn't know, but I know that the techniques that has been used upon my family, and they don't want to prove anything at this stage for themselves. They don't want to prove if I'm a criminal. They don't want to prove if I'm a spy. They don't want to prove if I did something wrong and I was not catch. They don't want. They know that it doesn't exist anything for which I would, well, except just part of music, but they know that there is nothing for which they could legally say we're gonna not allow you to be human and you're gonna be constrained. Yeah. But that's the point, is how much they can push. That's part of the experiment. How much they can push whilst the whole society thinks that I'm okay. The only way that I could do is just be prolific, making these videos, so in the future someone will see them. But people here in 2025 seems to not be aware, because your, let's say, your school system or our school system is not teaching you how to deal with AI, how to deal with neuroscience, how to deal with mindfulness, consciousness. They are not teaching you how to be aware of your feelings, calm down your feelings, see yourself from a third view person. They don't teach you how to be aware of your body changes, what you eat, and how you feel later. And they are not teaching you anything related with this. And if you don't know about how your body, the technology, etc. works, you will never notice that you are under a spell. And believe me, they can also make you forget that you are under a spell, because in 2018 I knew that it was partly done by AI, and I knew it because the patterns of the voices and technically is how the transformers were working at that time. Also, you have to keep in mind that this kind of technology was just released in 2023 with ChatGPT. It was openly released, but ChatGPT exists from 2015. So they just released a product of 7 years of work. And AI also, neural networks, was also something that the Soviets did. So it's an old technology. Yeah. What's gonna happen in the future if people doesn't know that this is happening to them? We're gonna be harvested, just like in the movie The Matrix. But in the movie The Matrix, believe me, the movie The Matrix is part of the Matrix. If you see the Platon's cave allegory, in the movie The Matrix is even worse, because you left the Matrix to go into the cavern, into the cave. Trinity might be digital the whole time. There is a romance in that movie, but actually Trinity is just always helping. She doesn't have a main role. Very fluid and just comes with it's supposed to be. So in one of the movies, I think it's the third one, she's back in the Matrix or something like that. She's like a rock, yeah, or something like that. That's how I see it. In reality, will never be like take the blue pill or the red pill. And if everyone is taking the red pill, then everyone becomes Agent Smith. And what's gonna happen in society in the future when we desperate need enlightenment? Academics and thinkers that are allowed to speak publicly are allowed to speak because they are not speaking about this. Many will know about this. But the fact that no one is speaking directly, openly about it, you might be able to catch, if you know what I'm talking about, that they might do a kind of, let's say, they could suggest to be talking in this direction. Yeah, they could cause some notion of whatever they're talking has to do with the cybernetics, AI, technology, electromagnetism, micro nano chips, etc. But they simply cannot speak about that. And they think that people is stupid. In the past, it was believed that people was really stupid, and that's why most of the people were not taught to read and write. Then it was, if I'm not wrong, I think it was Russia. I might be wrong. It could have been Russia, but I think it was the Prussian Empire. That was the first country which teach the people to write. Let's say kind of compulsory. What did that? Why to do that? To just boost the economy, make your whole society literate. It makes the social cohesion to be stronger. You have new inventors, you have new engineers, you have people creating, saving, modifying knowledge. You have something new. What we are creating is not a society in which the social network, let's say the social fabric will be based on competence, but in the future it's gonna be based on who has the enhancements. Then whatever is what we call humanity, or whatever we call to be human, or for humanity, like the ethics of humanizing, etc. It's all gonna be betrayed. That's dangerous, because right now I start to feel some things in my brain, or maybe not having a good sleep. And right now, sometimes I can feel any nerve in my body, string pain, things that are not related with schizophrenia. And yeah, when I was hospitalized here in Melbourne, the doctor wrote that my reasoning was astonished. So a lot of people in the medical sector already must have noticed a pattern, and they are not able to speak. It is becoming kind of obvious as well. Let's say that most of the people affected by the Havana syndrome cannot speak simply because they might not want to betray the oath that they made to their country. But I have not done such an oath. I did an oath for Australian society as a citizen to honor the values of Australia. That was my oath. And I'm also a Colombian citizen. I did an oath that whatever I learned in the National University, they say this oath is not real when you made it, but it's just a performance for the people who want to take it or not, and has been a tradition, and blah, blah, blah. It's not compulsory. But they say that whatever you learn in the university should be applied in to make the country better, not worse. Some people has broken that oath. They become another things. But yeah, what I have been experiencing and talking here is something that not many people will talk about. And it's something that you will not find in the news and in another place, only in my channel. So subscribe. Okay, I leave you for today.